Your child comes home and tells you something that happened that you know with complete certainty did not happen. Or they insist that something real, something you both lived through together, never took place at all. And your very first instinct is to correct them, to gently set the record straight. But what you are actually watching in that moment is something much bigger and much quieter than a simple wrong memory. You are watching your child slowly learn not to trust their own reality. And if it isn't interrupted, it can become one of the most lasting wounds an emotionally unsafe parent ever leaves. I'm Dr. Naaila. I have a doctorate in child development. And I want to say this plainly. If you can already feel this happening with your child and you want help protecting them from it before it sets in, then book a strategy session with me. This isn't therapy, it's strategy. We'll get clear on what your child is being taught to doubt and how to help them find their footing again. The link is in the description. Now, I work with emotionally safe parents who are raising children alongside manipulative or emotionally unsafe or narcissistic co-parents. And I'm also a bonus mom who has watched this happen up close. And I'll tell you, this particular pattern is one of the hardest of all to catch because it doesn't look like harm. It looks like a child who's just confused or forgetful or making things up. So my whole job in the next few minutes is to help you see it for what it really is, because you cannot protect your child from something you can't recognize yet. So let's name it. What's happening is a form of reality manipulation. You might know it by the word gaslighting. And if you've been in a relationship with this person yourself, you may already know exactly how it feels from the inside. It's when someone insists calmly and confidently that what you have experienced isn't real, that you didn't see what you saw, that you don't feel what you feel, that the thing that happened simply never happened. For a grown adult, that is disorienting enough. We start to question ourselves even when we were certain a moment before. So now I want you to imagine being 5 years old, and the person rewriting the reality is a parent you love and depend on and trust completely. A child that age doesn't stand a chance of holding on to their own version. They just slowly start to believe their parents. And here's how it tends to show up so you can actually catch it. You might notice your child insisting something happened that you know didn't, and saying it with real conviction because they've been told it so many times that it became true for them. You might notice the opposite, your child denying something real, something you both know happened, because admitting it isn't safe in the other home. You might notice your child constantly second-guessing themselves, the I don't know that came too quickly, starting to tell you something, then stopping and saying, never mind, it doesn't matter. You might notice them looking to you or to whoever else is in the room to find out what they're supposed to think or feel instead of simply knowing it. And you might notice their story shifting depending on who's asking, because they've learned that the truth is whatever keeps the powerful adult calm. Let me give you a real example, and I'll keep this general to protect the family's privacy. A parent I worked with had their child come to them one day and say, "You don't love me and you don't miss me. Only my other parent misses me." Now sit with it for a second as to where a sentence like that even comes from. A young child does not arrive at that on their own. It has to be planted. And this parent did everything you would hope. They didn't argue and they didn't get defensive. They got down low and they validated the feeling. They comforted their child. They gently offered the truth. And they even walked their child over to the fridge to show them all of the photos kept right there, so their child could see that they thought of and missed them every single day, even when they're apart. It was a beautiful response. And here's the part I really want you to notice. For weeks afterwards, on nearly every phone call, that child would ask the same small question. Do you miss me? Do you miss me? Over and over. And that quiet, repeated little question is the wound itself, showing right up on the surface, because that child is reaching outward again and again for a truth that they could no longer quietly hold on their own. Someone had shaken their ability to simply know on the inside that they were loved and remembered. So they kept coming back to be told. Every one of these is a small sign of the same thing, a child who is quietly losing their grip on their own reality. And if you're recognizing your child in any of this, I don't want you to wait until it's more set in. This is exactly the kind of thing that we get ahead of on a strategy session. The link is in the description. And stay with me because I want you to understand why this wound runs so deep and why the most obvious way to fix it can quietly make it worse. So why does this matter so much? Because a child's sense of reality is the foundation that everything else gets built on. their confidence, and their ability to feel something is wrong and actually trust that signal. When a child learns that they can't rely on their own perception, they don't just lose an argument about what happened. They lose the ground under their feet. And a child without that ground grows into an adult who is endlessly easy to manipulate because they were trained from the very start to believe that the loudest, most certain person in the room must be the one who's right, and that their own knowing can't be trusted. That's why this is one of the most lasting wounds there is. It doesn't just change one memory. It changes how your child relates to truth itself. And here's the painful part, because the most obvious fix can quietly deepen the very wound that you're trying to heal. When your child says something you know isn't true, every instinct in you wants to correct it firmly. No, that's not what happened. That isn't true. The other parent is wrong. And I completely understand that instinct. But think about what your child has just experienced. One adult told them with total confidence that reality is one thing. And now another adult is telling them with total confidence that reality is the opposite. So your child is stuck doing the same impossible thing, looking outside of themselves, trying to work out which powerful grown-up to believe. You haven't handed them back their own reality. You've become one more voice competing to define it for them. Now, that's the forceful version. And most loving parents don't actually do that. But there's a gentler version of the same trap, and I want to show it to you, because this is the one that catches the good, attuned parents. Think back to that child asking, "Do you miss me?" on every single phone call. That parent's response was beautiful. The validating, the comforting, the photos on the fridge, all of it was loving, and all of it mattered. And I would never tell you not to comfort your child. But notice that the child still had to keep coming back for it again and again. Because being told the truth by someone else, even gently, even lovingly, is not the same as being able to hold that truth yourself. So the lasting protection was never going to live in how perfectly you reassure your child. It lives in slowly helping them rebuild their own ability to know what is real, so that they don't have to keep reaching outside of themselves to find it. So here's the reflection I want to leave you with this week. Start noticing the moments that your child looks outside of themselves to find out what's real. The little glance at the adult in the room before they answer, the "I don't know" that arrives too fast, the way they tell you something and then quietly take it back. You don't have to correct any of it. I just want you to start seeing how often your child reaches outwards for something that was supposed to come from inside them, because that reaching is the wound showing itself to you in real time. And that's where so many parents feel completely stuck, because once you see it, you desperately want to give your child their reality back. But you can also feel the trap. If you argue, you become one more voice telling them what's true. If you say nothing, the other parent's version stands unchallenged. So how do you anchor your child in their own knowing without calling their other parent a liar and without dragging your child into a tug-of-war over what's real? That's the delicate work. And it's exactly what I help parents learn to do. So I don't want you to leave frightened, because this wound is not permanent and your child is not too far gone. Your child's trust in their own reality can be rebuilt inside safe relationships over time. Every time you believe what your child felt instead of correcting it, every time you let them be the authority on their own experience, you hand them back a piece of solid ground. And the most healing thing you can ever offer a child caught in this is almost startlingly simple. It's that it's okay to listen to themselves first, not to argue with anyone, just to reconnect with what they know. A child who keeps that, who grows up still able to trust their own knowing, is protected from this person and from every future person who will ever try to convince them that what they see and what they feel isn't real. So here's what I want you to do. Don't make this about winning the argument over what happened. Make it about whether your child still trusts their own mind and whether anyone is helping them hold on to it. It's the question that centers your child. And if you want help doing exactly that with someone who has both studied this and lived it, book a strategy session with me. The link is in the description. This is for the parent who can see what's being chipped away and wants to help their child keep the one thing no one should ever be able to take from them, which is trust in their own reality. And before you go, I want to tell you what's coming. Next week, I want to talk about what to actually do in the moment your child comes home and says one of these things, because how you respond in the exact moment matters more than you might think. We'll talk about the difference between reacting and responding, and why your child is almost always bringing you a feeling, not a fact to be corrected. Make sure you subscribe so it finds its way to you when it's out. I'll see you then.